Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Vicente.
And this is Izzy.
And welcome back to another episode of the IV Podcast. And before we get started with the topic, just a thank you for everyone. I watched the Jurassic Park video. It blew up. And a lot of people I know us personally were messaging me or even at my job were talking about it, saying how much they loved it. And how just getting feedback about how people had no idea that there was a book that existed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we love hearing the feedback from you guys about our videos and how much you appreciate it and how much we appreciate you guys too.
Yep. And so now the topic, and we're going to continue with our Jurassic Park takeover. And now we're doing what I'm going to say is my all-time favorite Jurassic Park movie, and that is The Lost World. Now, funny enough, even though there's a second book, Michael Crichton never wanted to do a sequel to Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
But then money started coming in, and he saw a green light. And Steven Spielberg and Universal asked Michael Crichton, "Hey, can you write a sequel to the movie? That way, you get more money for your book, and we get more money for the sequel." And so Michael Crichton was like, "Yeah, sure." And let me just tell you, they barely used jack shit from that book. Granted, yeah, it was loosely inspired, but it's not like how the first movie had a lot of similarities to the first novel. So the plot of the book is basically, it reveals that Ian Malcolm survived the events of Jurassic Park. Because in the first novel, it was believed that Ian Malcolm died because of his injuries.
Mm-hmm.
But in the sequel, it opens up with Ian Malcolm giving a lecture to all of his students and peers saying that his death was premature. And there's a student, a paleontologist by the name of Dr. Richard Levine, who tells Ian Malcolm that there's rumors of a lost world out there, another island to where they bred the dinosaurs before they brought them to Isla Nublar. And he wants to explore with Ian. And Ian is kind of like, maybe, possibly so. And before he can give an official answer, go with Dr. Richard Levine goes off by himself because he heard rumors of the Costa Rican government about to bomb the second island known as Site B, aka Isla Sorna. And so Ian Malcolm, Jack Thorne, a character that's never in the movie, Sarah Harding, Eddie Carr, and Kelly go off to rescue Richard Levine before he can die, while the human antagonist for that book is Lewis Dodson and Engine.
Mm-hmm.
But the movie loosely kind of is inspired by that plot, because Ian Malcolm in the Lost World movie goes to Site B because he wants to rescue his girlfriend Sarah Harding along with Eddie Carr and his daughter Kelly. So, but at the same time, they're trying to save the dinos from being taken off the island by Engine and a team of mercenaries.
Yeah. At the same time, the plots are similar. They're also sort of different. They do a lot of character combining when it comes to the movie. But, I mean, it's kind of the same gist when you think about it.
Yeah, so the characters of Jack Thorne and Richard Levine, they're not in the Lost World movie, but their characters from their novels are combined in the Sarah Harding.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't mind it, because I do like the book, the sequel in its own way when it comes to the book, but I also love the movie. And for people that say, what makes Lost World so special for you? We're going to get into it a little bit later on, but I will say this. It's just because of the character of Ian Malcolm, played by Jeff Goldblum,
Mm-hmm.
and he's iconic. And like I said in our Jurassic Park episode, Alan Grant, I love him. I love Owen Grady. But to me, it's just a typical action hero. Like, yeah, they're already badasses. But when it comes to Ian Malcolm, he's just a dude like you and me and everyone else. He barely knows jack shit about these dinosaurs, just like us. But somehow he still manages to live using his intelligence.
Mm-hmm. It's like one of us would be living in the dino world.
Yeah. And then basically, the only characters that really were from the book are Eddie Carr, Sarah Harding, Ian Malcolm, and Kelly. And that's basically it. Everyone else is just kind of a made-up character.
Yeah.
Or inspired from the novel. But before we get more into that, let's get into the Lost World behind the scenes. Now, the first one, behind the scene fact number one, we kind of talk about it. Michael Crichton didn't want to write a sequel book. He thought it ended perfectly with Jurassic Park. But, money came in, and Steven Spielberg asked for that favor. And so, yeah, he decided to write a sequel of the novel. And like we said, it's loosely inspired by the novel itself.
Yeah. So it kind of goes off the movie kind of goes off from the book and then also gets inspiration from a screenplay too.
Yeah, and for better or worse, I think it works out perfectly in the end.
Yeah.
And then behind the scene fact number 2, there was an inspiration of the screenplay. David Coop is credited as the screenwriter for Lost World, and him and Steven Spielberg conceived a lot of the movie together. So just like same thing with Michael Crichton's novel, it doesn't really use the book as its primary influence, but still, it's nice to know that they had Michael Crichton and David Coop involved in the writing room when it came to even writing the screenplay for the sequel.
Yeah, and when Steven Spielberg directed this movie, he wasn't even sure he was going to do it at first.
Yeah, we're going to get into a little mixed feeling I have with this movie. But yeah, I'm not trying to get more into depth about it until later on.
Yeah.
And in fact, number 3, the planned shooting was going to be in New Zealand, but funny enough, this whole movie is basically shot in California, mostly in Humboldt County, California. And so it's cool to know that, yeah, like a lot of these movies were filmed in Hawaii, most notably the first Jurassic Park, but it's cool to know that they actually did film a scene in San Diego and Humboldt, California.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to see that you don't have to have all these fancy destinations to shoot these cool movies. You can do it right at home.
Yeah, exactly. But then I guess now the major theme is filming in Georgia because they get a big tax write-off, and it's cheap to film there.
Yeah.
So I mean, and it's cool when they film a major movie like this in your home state.
Mm-hmm.
A little fun behind the scene fact. And then behind the scene fact number 4, the opening scene of Lost World actually is the opening scene of the first book. And even though it's not as gory or brutal as the opening in the first book, it's the exact same carbon copy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the exact same way how Hammond was killed in the first novel, but we'll get more into that a little bit later.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how they're still taking inspiration from the first book since it was written so well.
Yeah, and so when we review the later movies, we'll try to see some similarities with the book, but we're not going to promise anything.
Yeah.
It's just for the first 2 movies, they take more inspiration. So, but we're going to try our best when it comes to like book facts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then behind the scene fact number 5, and I'm not sure if a lot of people are aware of a lot of movies where they get filmed, but the cliff scene in Lost World with the characters of Nick Van Owen, Ian Malcolm, and Sarah Harding was actually filmed in a backlot parking garage at Universal Studios. And granted, yeah, it's a Universal Studios movie, but I think even some other movies that aren't affiliated with Universal Studios still get filmed there.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and that's one thing I love about going to Universal, seeing where all the movies are filmed.
Exactly, yeah. And then even when you're anyone that's been to Universal Studios, when you're taking the escalators down to Jurassic World, you can actually see where they filmed some of the stuff just from the overview, and it's cool. Like, me and Izzy were fans of the Chucky TV series, and we saw the lot where they filmed Chucky inside, and it's so cool just seeing all these Easter eggs. Even when you go on a Universal Studios Hollywood tour, you see all the sets. Like me and Izzy got to walk through the set of Nope. Oh, and it was so cool. We got to go through Bates Motel, and it was so fun.
Yeah, that was one of the best things about going to the Halloween Horror Nights was walking through an actual movie set.
Oh, hell yeah. And then finally, for our last behind-the-scene fact, just like the first Jurassic Park, this movie had multiple versions of the script and a different ending. Now, we all know the infamous San Diego incident where the T-Rex pulls a Godzilla and goes on a rampage in San Diego, but the movie was never supposed to have that sequence. In fact, it had a different ending. When they get rescued in a helicopter, they're going to be attacked by pterodactyls, and plenty of Jurassic Park fans knew this. I knew this. I don't know if Izzy knew it, but it's cool to see that they had different endings for this movie. Do I think it worked out? Well, kind of, sort of, maybe.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, but I think I would have loved to see that. But they kind of saved that idea in the third movie, but we won't discuss that more until we get to the third movie.
Yeah, I think it would have been an interesting ending if they would have gone with the pterodactyl, but I also feel like it would have been very similar to the first movie.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And now we are getting to our book versus movie character comparison. Now, Ian Malcolm in the sequel book, like I said, it reveals that his death was a premature call. because he was so high off of morphine that his body was just taking that adrenaline rush. And in the first novel, he was hallucinating because he was just high off the drug.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a little bit more serious because of his experience. But just like I would say he's the same basically character in the sequel movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's a lot more serious, but a little difference that in the first in the Lost World novel, he's denying that there was a Jurassic Park because all of them, Alan Grant, Ellie Sattler, signed an NDA saying that they could not discuss what they seen on the island. So in the sequel book, he doesn't really talk about it. He denies the rumors. But in the movie Lost World, he tries to tell the public Engine's dirty secrets, and he's outed as his lunatic. He doesn't know what he's talking about, and he won't take Engine's money. Granted, Engine paid for all his medical bills from the injuries he sustained in Jurassic Park. But, they try to give him hush money. He didn't accept it. And now he's just this crazy lunatic people look at.
Yeah, basically in the movie his reputation was tarnished, and so that's sort of also why he continues to work with InGen.
Yeah, like just he wanted to work against them, and
yeah.
I can't blame him. I'd want people to know the secret. So this whole movie is him just trying to take down InGen and prove that he's not a crazy lunatic.
Yep.
All right, and now for the character of Sarah Harding. She's in the book. She's described as a fit, muscular woman and very ambitious. And funny enough, in the novel, her and Ian, they had a dating history, but it never really went too far. But they remained very close friends. And I think she was a friend of Dr. Richard Levine. I'm not too sure. But in the movie, they continue but in the movie, it's revealed that they're a couple. And that's the only reason why Ian even goes to Isla Sorna. It's just because to rescue Sarah.
Yeah. So basically, it's kind of just interesting with the relationship that it goes with. But yeah. And then also along with her, Sarah Harding. In the book, she's actually an annual behavioralist rather than a paleontologist that's revealed in the movie.
Yeah. And so, like in the movie, it reveals that she's worked with African lions and other predators. But it's nice to see a little difference, Yeah, and her character is a lot of inspiration from Jack Thorne and Richard Levine in this movie.
Yeah.
And then for our last one is Kelly. And we're not going to do Eddie Carr just because Eddie Carr is basically the same character as he was in the book and in the movie. And then Kelly, she was actually an assistant of Dr. Malcolm. She wasn't his daughter at all, just like in the movie. They were just... she looked up to him, and she looked up to Sarah Harding and Richard Levine. And so her and another character by the name of Arby actually sneak inside the trailer and follow them to Site B. And so the story is kind of the same, just two totally different characters. Not one just being a fan of Ian Malcolm, and the other actually being his daughter.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting that they would have two kid characters in the book.
I will say I like these characters more than I did Lex and Tim in the first movie. But that's just how I feel.
Yeah.
And now, before we get into our positives and negatives, I just want to say the sequel book is gory as hell. And the book and the movie itself, I think it's the most darkest, most brutal film we have in this franchise.
I agree. This movie takes a turn when it comes to tone and is like the complete opposite from the first one, but still a really enjoyable movie.
Because in the first movie, it's like a ooh, ah, like it's cool. Like it's this adventure. And Lost World does have those moments, but right away, you're just like, oh crap. Like, the first island, Isla Nublar, there's a chance you're gonna die. But on Isla Sorna, Site B, in Spanish you call it Las Cinco Muertes, the 5 deaths. You're gonna get killed. You're dying. People have died on this island. In a novel, they say fishermen came close to the island and died, and just like in the movie, fishermen came close to the island and died. And it's because these dinosaurs are running loose. They don't have a theme park. They don't have electric fencing in some sectors of this island. Everything's just abandoned, and it's scary. And it gives you more of a jungle terrain feel.
Yeah, this movie definitely makes the dinos a lot scarier compared to the first one.
Yeah, because in the first one, it was theme park attractions, theme park
Mm-hmm.
monsters. And this one, they're animals. They treat, like, and this is what I love about the movie. They make them feel like actual animals, just like in the first movie. But
Mm-hmm.
these are like animals, like in the wild.
Yep.
All right, so now we're going to get into our positives and negatives. And with our first positive, like we said, the tone it sets for the movie. With that opening scene of the little girl and her family being attacked by the compies, you're just like, they did not just kill a child.
Yeah.
They did in the first novel, but you can get away with a lot of stuff in books.
Yeah.
And you're just like, there's no way they killed a kid.
Yeah, when I watched it for the first time, I was not expecting a child to almost die on screen.
Yeah, and then you have the mercenaries trying to survive. You have our core group of heroes trying to survive, and it's just all out crazy. And this is more of a horror movie than the first Jurassic Park. It had horror elements, but I think you can make a better and stronger case of this movie being a horror movie.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
All right, and number 2 on our positive list is a character of Roland Timbo. Now, Roland Timbo, to me, he's just kind of a carbon copy of Robert Muldoon from the first book and first movie. But, like I said, his character died in the first movie, but in the first novel, he lived. I don't know why they never wanted to bring him back in the sequel book. But there's a lot of characteristics that you see in Roland Timbo for anyone that's a fan of the novel or movie, that he's a lot like Robert Muldoon.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, Roland's more of a badass. He's a game hunter. You can tell he's a very honorable man, but we're going to talk about that later. I don't want to get too spoilery with it.
Yeah, his character, when I first watched this, I wasn't too sure of his character, but then after with discussing with you, I've turned to like his character and his motives that happen in the movie.
Yeah, there's a deleted scene, which I'll talk about my negatives, that shines more light into him. And it's like, if you kept that deleted scene, people would have wanted to see more of him. And I'm going to be honest, the actor did pass away a few years ago that played Roland.
Mm-hmm.
I really wish he was in Jurassic Park 3. I can see him and Alan Grant working so well together.
Yeah, that would have been really interesting to have him in the third. Oh, now that just makes me think about how much the third movie would have gone if he was in it.
With how good this character is, and when we explain the deleted scene and give him a little bit more of a backstory later on, you're going to be like, fuck. In a way, I kind of wish, and I'm going to be honest, I kind of wish Lost World was kind of just about Roland.
Yeah.
That would have been cool, him trying to get his mercenaries, his team, his people off to island safety while trying to fight off raptors, T-Rexes, everything.
Uh-huh.
All right. And so for our third positive, the deaths are much more meaner and gorier. In the first book and the first movie, yeah, it's some, I guess I can say some decent people did get killed, but it's more of like, but more villainous people got killed.
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, dude, people get fucked.
Yeah, they do.
It's so much bloodier. And I'm going to discuss the movie deaths first before I talk about the novel deaths. Like I said, in the movie, more of a horror atmosphere. You have a character get eaten by a T-Rex, but you actually see blood splurting from the waterfall. Because there's a scene where a T-Rex chases Nick Van Owen, Sarah Harding, Kelly, and another paleontologist inside of a waterfall. And it's so cramped in, and the T-Rex is trying to bite one of them or bite a leg or arm to pull it out of the waterfall. And then the paleontologist, I forgot the name of it, it's Robert Burke, that's the name, Dr. Burke, he sees a snake go down his shirt. Funny enough, that snake isn't actually poisonous in real life, but he flips out, and just like any other normal person would. And he gets just close enough for the T-Rex to take a bite on his arm, pull him out of the waterfall, and you hear him screaming in agonizing pain, and all of a sudden, just bone crunching, and blood coming down the waterfall, and it's like, fuck, this man just got fucked, like, holy shit.
Yeah, I was not expecting, and then with the tongue, oh my god.
Oh yeah, the T-Rex tongue was like trying to lick him, like get a taste of him. And another death, to me, which is the most brutal in this entire franchise is the death of Eddie Carr. And for fans of this movie, you know how mean-spirited it was. In the novel, he dies by raptors and the hide. You know, that's another cool action piece. But in the movie, this man gets torn in half by the two parents of the T-Rexes, the T-Rex parents, and holy crap, he is such a nice dude and lovable guy. Like, he's so nice. So when you see him die in a horrible way, you know, when he gets his lower half ripped apart from the upper half, you're just like, they killed a nice guy.
Yeah, he did not deserve to die. He was just trying to save his friends.
Yeah, and I made a joke with Izzy. I was like, fuck, I'd rather have Sarah Harding die than Eddie. Shit. Let's go back in time and do that. And another messed up death was when the T-Rex attacks their camp, you know, towards the end of the movie. One of the mercenaries gets stepped on, but it doesn't just end there. You see his body attached to the T-Rex foot for a few more stomps before it comes off, and he's just laying in the footprint, and you can see his body just flatten, and you're just like, oh shit.
Yeah, that is. Ugh.
Yeah, it's still a scene that makes me queasy. And finally, we're gonna get to our final two most brutal deaths in this one. The first one being the death of Dieter Stark. And granted, this dude was an asshole because he tasered a compy, and I get it. You have to survive. Yeah. But he was just a mean dude. He tried fighting Nick. He tried fighting Ian. He didn't give a crap about any of these people. But he's just doing it because he wants to survive. But his death is brutal. He gets, for some reason, this man doesn't want to pee in front of the other mercenaries when he sit down and take a rest. And it's like, dude, you're on an island with killer dinosaurs. Why? Just pee right there. Even if you got to poop, just go a few feet away. Like, why would you go down to get yourself killed? This is stupid. But karma comes back because he goes too far. He gets attacked by a compy or chases one down, and he falls off a little mini cliff. And all of a sudden, these packs of compies just start biting at him. One bites onto his lip, and some of his lip gets torn apart. You can see some flesh missing. And this is what I mean when Lost World takes the gore and blood up a notch, because this is something you would never have seen in the first movie. I mean, yeah, there was a dismembered arm, but this is getting bloody as hell.
Yeah, when you see the blood running down the river, it's like, oh crap.
Yeah, we didn't even get to that part. And so for the compies, it's explained in the book. I'm not sure if it's explained in the movies. I'm going to assume it is, that the compies have a venom bite, and so it paralyzes their victims over time, so it can kill them easier. And so we get with Dieter Stark trying to make his way back to where the hunters are at, but he gets lost. And then it cuts to another scene of him running away from the pack of compies. He's getting tired. He's getting dehydrated. And he falls first into the river to drink some water because he's thirsty. And then he gets bitten and attacked more, and he throws them all off. And he jumps over a cliff. And this is inspired by John Hammond's death from the first book. He jumps over a log, and it sounds like he broke his leg. And he sits, and his body's so tired and weak. And all of a sudden, the compies jump over the log, and you hear the compies tear into his flesh, tear apart his bones, and you see just blood rushing down that small river. And it's just, fuck, dude. I'm so glad they didn't show how he died, because that would have been very disgusting. And he even say later on when they go search for Stark, Ian asks Roland, "Did you find him?" And Roland says, "Just the parts they didn't like." And so one can imagine they left some guts and flesh on that skeleton.
Yeah, they did. It's a death that it's very gory if we were going to see it, though. Imagine all the little meat pieces.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, even though you don't see it, just hearing them scream in pain and the flesh tearing apart, you're just like, oh my God.
And like the visualization that you have in your head of it.
And to me, it's scarier when you're not seeing someone die, because you can only imagine how it's happening in that movie. And then for the final death, which is pretty poetic, is when the character of Peter Hammond, the main human antagonist of this movie, gets eaten by the baby Rex, funny enough, that's how Lewis Dotson dies in the Lost World novel.
Mm-hmm.
He gets picked off by the dad T-Rex, and he chomps on his leg so he can't run away, and he brings it back to the Rex nest. But in the Lost World novel, there's 3 baby T-Rexes, and Lewis Dotson dies in the Lost World novel when the 3 baby Rexes pounce on him. One goes for his legs, one goes for his like chest area, belly area, and then the third one starts eating at his face, and it's describing how he's dying in the book about how he feels the baby Rex, one of the baby Rexes, tearing out his guts, chomping out his eyes, and it's so disgusting.
That just sounds horrible.
And then Peter Hammond died by one baby infant T-Rex, but you can even hear just bone crunching and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, it's a main human antagonist death, but it's still disgusting. But for me, the novel deaths are way more brutal.
Yeah, I agree.
And then even another death in the novel was when the character of Diego gets killed by a pair of carnivores, but they can camouflage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I seriously wish the movie would have taken from the book, was the pair of carnivores that stalked their group, but they could turn invisible,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, or not invisible, but camouflage, kind of like some reptiles today, like frogs that could blend in into the environments just like chameleons.
Yeah, I think it would have been interesting to see it, but they did also use it in later movies.
Yeah, they used it in Jurassic World, but even I thought it was, I wish it was still the carnivore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to do it for our third positive. Just the deaths are way more mean, even
Mm-hmm.
in the book. And then for our fourth positive, it's the character arc of Ian Malcolm. It's done really well. I mean, yeah, he still has his little funny moments. He's still Ian Malcolm, the one that we love and know. But he's a little bit more serious, and he's traumatized. And in the movie, when he hears the T-Rex roar from a distance, and this is done perfectly by Jeff Goldblum, his face says it all.
Mm-hmm.
He's scared because the last time he saw a T-Rex, he was getting chased down, and no one can tell me if you had an experience like that and lived, you would never be able to sleep again.
Yeah, he's definitely dealing with some flashbacks.
Yeah, but his character, I would say, and this is what makes him the best character, is that he's using his wits and intelligence to survive.
Mm-hmm.
He's not this typical action hero. He's just using what he knows, and he even tells the other hunters, when both T-Rex parents attack their mini camp, he tells them, "Don't move, don't run." And it's a nice and it shows that he's adapted to ways to survive. He took that from
Mm-hmm.
Alan Grant, when Alan Grant told him, "Don't move, it can't see you if you don't move," which I don't know if that's in real life, if that would ever happen. I hear debates saying that the T-Rex could actually see, and I hear some that say it can't see.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see how much he's changed from the first movie to now. That's one of the things I love about the movie, is that we see his character progression and how he's trying to save these people in the Lost World.
Yeah, and like granted, he doesn't want to go to Site B.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to go because this is where you go to die.
Yep.
But he does want to save Sarah and anyone else on that island.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do appreciate that. They could have just copped out and kept him the same. But it's nice to know that they actually gave love to the character of Ian Malcolm.
Yep.
All right, and number 5, the action scenes and set pieces are cool as hell. Like I said, the high rise where Eddie Carr designs them to where he can hide up in the tree,
Mm-hmm.
and they won't get attacked by a T-Rex or velociraptors because it's so high. And I remember the toys for this movie. Granted, I was born in 97, but I would still see toys from the Lost World in early 2000.
Mm-hmm.
The Jeeps, the dinosaurs, everything was cool. And my favorite action moment in this movie has to be the herd of the herbivores. Sorry. The Indian mercenaries are hunting all the herbivores in the valley,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so cool because they're trying to capture them so they bring them back to another theme park in San Diego. And you get the infamous cliff scene.
Mm-hmm.
That's another cool action scene. I even had the RV as a toy when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the T-Rex parents attacking the camp. And this movie is just chaos.
Yeah, even the RV scene over the cliff is one of the a really cool scene that I remember from the movie.
It's tense as hell.
Yeah.
Because they're trying not to die. They're not trying to fall off. And it's just they're relying on each other. They literally have to rely on each other because if one of them falls, they're all dead.
Yeah.
And so it's so cool. Like, if anything, I think this movie is the most action packed. Maybe right now until we watch the later movies, but this is the movie that I do remember. It has a lot of cool toys, set pieces, and it's so practical.
Mm-hmm.
Even the dinosaurs look fucking amazing. They look cool. They look realistic compared to the first movie.
Yeah.
It's done a little bit better with more animatronics and practical effects.
Yeah, they definitely use, if I remember correctly, they did use a lot more animatronics in this movie compared to the first, and the dinosaurs are on screen for a lot longer compared to the first.
Yeah, and then when you have just both the mom and dad T-Rex on each side of the RV just trying to get to their infant, it's cool, but it's so scary.
It's
like
eerie.
Yeah, you're just like, damn, one of these T-Rexes could knock this trailer over and just kill everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's done so well. And then you get like all these like cool Jeeps that they bring to the island. The hunters, they have cars to where like they have a seat that can not eject you out, but kind of push you outside so you can get like a clear shot at the dinos. And it's so cool. It's action packed as hell.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And number 6, the cinematography and music theme for this movie is just as good as the first one. And that's something I forgot to mention in our first review of Jurassic Park. Is the theme itself. It's so iconic. Even if you've never seen any of the movies, you're going to know what that theme is.
Yep.
And the first movie theme, it was this action adventure. But for Lost World, the theme itself is boom, 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 boom. It gets you going. It's adrenaline rushing.
Yeah, it gets you action packed. And I want to talk about the cinematography though. Like, even in the very first scene when they go to the island and you see the Stegosauruses, that's like such a beautiful scene with the river.
Yeah, like it's like I said, you're seeing these animals, like actual animals in the wild that you would see, like a pair of like gazelles, deer, hippos, zebras, just everything, even like lions. And it's so cool. And then we get a cool shot of the T-Rex roaring in the city of San Diego. And it's such a cool shot with the city San Diego in the background, the T-Rex causing mayhem in San Diego. There's so many cool shots in this movie cinematography that it does hold up to the first movie. And now people aren't really a fan of The Lost World, but to me, it's just as good as the first one, if not a little better.
Yeah, I think it holds up to the first one in a different way. Not so much in like an awe way, but as in like a step up to like a different type of feeling with that horror, that fear, that action compared to the first.
Yep, I agree. And now number 7 on our positive list, the long grass scene.
Oh, this scene.
this scene is something out of a horror movie. Most notably, probably you would see this in the Alien series.
Yeah.
And you see the rest of the hunters that ran away from the T-Rex that didn't get caught or killed. They go into the long grass scene, and there's a character by the name of Ajay who tells them don't go into the long grass because he knows. He knows that there's something in there. And then the camera pans out, and you see something following the hunters. And one by one, they start getting picked off. You don't know what the hell they are. And then you see a velociraptor jump on one of the engine hunters. And it is scary as hell. They're all getting picked off. Holy crap.
It is on like Donkey Kong.
Yeah, it's scary. And then from the distance, when Ian, Nick, Sarah, and Kelly go to the long grass too, they hear screams of the other engine hunters dying. And that's what I mean. You don't see these hunters die, but just their screams of death is as scary enough as it is.
Yeah, you don't. And that's the scary thing about with the long grass thing is that they don't know about the velociraptor. So when you see these characters falling and falling and falling, it's like, what the heck?
I mean, yeah, you kind of see like their tail in the air and the velociraptor stalking them, but they could be anything. You don't know if they're raptors or not. And so when it shows a raptor jumping at one of the hunters, you're just like, oh crap, now we're with the velociraptors, and it's so cool. But that's also a negative for me, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit.
Yeah.
And finally, for our last positive, number 8, the ending with John Hammond. And I can't believe I forgot to put this on our positive list but the character of John Hammond comes to full circle.
Mm-hmm.
In the first movie, he was somewhat of a capitalist, but in this one, he's a naturalist.
Yeah.
And he gives a speech in the end on the news saying that the dinosaurs, they don't need us to survive.
Mm-hmm.
If we just let them live, life's going to flourish and life's going to find a way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so amazing that he doesn't want this theme park anymore. He just wants to let the dinosaurs live in peace.
Mm-hmm.
And I like this ending better than the Lost World novel ending, because in the book of Lost World, it's revealed that there's a disease going around the island that's killing the dinosaurs one by one.
Mm-hmm.
Izzy doesn't know this, so she's giving me a look, kind of a sad look. So it's explained by Richard Levine and Ian Malcolm that the disease on the Isla Sorna in the book is going to wipe out and cause the extinction of the dinosaurs, and they're just going to let nature take its course. That's a very messed up ending. I do not like that ending. That is very sad for the Lost World novel. And so I'm happy with this ending. It shows the T-Rexes living in harmony, every dinosaur living in harmony. You see Stegosauruses, Brachiosauruses, every species of dinosaur just walking together in this valley.
Yeah. Plus, I think it's really nice that they did make John Hammond's character a full circle in the movies, at least.
Yeah, and it's sad to say that this was his last appearance before he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say in 2013.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad his character came to full circle before anything else happened.
Agreed.
All right. And now that we're done with our positive list, we're going on to our negative. And for our first negative, the character of Sarah Harding. Not the entire time, but she does some stupid crap which can get a lot of people killed.
Yeah, her character, I like her character, but there's some, for her being an animal person, some of her decisions are kind of like weird.
Yeah, like in the Lost World novel, she wasn't this dumb, I would say. It's the writing itself. I don't blame the actress herself, but she's so hopeful, so gleeful that in the movie, she wants to go take a picture with the baby Stegosaurus. I mean, yeah, it's cute, but even Ian Malcolm's like, dude, if the parents see you or that baby starts crying, you're gonna get killed.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, the baby freaks out, and Sarah almost gets killed.
Yep.
And okay, that's strike number 1. Strike number 2, I hate saying it, that baby T-Rex is cute, and even though his leg is broken, I am sorry, I am not bringing that thing back with me. I know that's mean to say, but dude, you're on an island filled with things that can kill you. Why would you bring back a baby T-Rex infant when you know the parents are going to go look for it?
Yeah, what do you think was going to happen? That the parents were just going to forget about the baby?
Yeah, no, in fucking reality, you're not going to take someone's baby. Those parents, any parent will come down and hunt you to the ends of the earth.
Exactly.
Animal or human. And then that's strike 2. But strike 3 is where you had me effed up, Sarah. When there's blood on her jacket, and it's the blood of the baby T-Rex, and it leads the mom and dad T-Rex to follow and stalk their group. And even Roland, there's a scene where Roland Timbo goes up to Sarah and says, hey, are you injured? And she says, oh no, it's the infant's blood. In that moment, if I was Roland, I would have been like, what the hell are you doing? Why don't you throw that jacket away? You're gonna get us killed. And sure enough, the T-Rex attacks their camp and kills some of the injured hunters.
Mm-hmm. I would have thought Roland would have said something, but hey.
Yeah, and it's writing, we're just poking fun.
Yeah.
We're just poking fun at it.
Oh, for sure.
But it's like, come on, dude, you're on an island with killer dinosaurs. You're gonna don't even bring anything that they can sniff you out with.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and number 2, me and Izzy had a little argument about this. Number 2 is Kelly using her gymnastics on the Velociraptors.
Oh, boy.
I don't have a problem with the scene itself. It's just how it's executed. Because earlier in the movie, Kelly tells Ian that she got cut from the gymnastics team. And even as a kid, I'm all like, oh my God, don't tell me that's gonna come into play later. And then when they're getting chased by the raptors in the engine warehouse, Ian is about to get killed. But here comes Kelly taking her sweet ass time, doing all these gymnastic moves and everything, and she yells at the raptor, hey, you. And I seriously doubt a raptor would have been distracted. It would have killed Ian right away. But no, for movie's sake, the raptor looks at Kelly as if it's surprised. Watch the movie. I wish we did a video podcast. We will soon. But the raptor turns up, goes, look, does this look as if it's surprised? And somehow Kelly uses a gymnastic kick and knocks the raptor out the window where it gets impaled. I am sorry, but I call BS on that. Izzy likes that scene. I don't know why.
I don't like the scene, but I defend the scene because I'm like, she was just building up kinetic force to kick the raptor in the face.
But a small-ass child against a velociraptor? Dude, I don't care.
14, 13, or like 14, 15-year-old.
Look at her size. And, okay, let me just say this. I'd be saying the same damn thing if this was a dude. There's no way you're knocking a fucking dinosaur on his ass. There's no way. No way. No way. I call BS on that. I seriously call BS on that. But, it doesn't ruin the movie for me. But when that scene comes on, Izzy just looks at me and she's like, you have this look. I'm like, yep. All right. But speaking of raptors, for our third negative is the screen time of the velociraptors. Now, I love the use of the velociraptors in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish it took a page out of the Lost World novel and had the raptors stalk this group. Granted, they kind of adapt that storyline in the third movie, which we will discuss next week. But it sucks because in the first movie, I mean, they were kind of barely in it, but at least you had a sense of them. You kind of saw them in the opening scene when Robert Muldoon and Alan Grant are discussing them. I feel like the raptors had a better use in the first movie, whereas in the Lost World movie, they're just kind of there for that particular story arc.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel like the scenes that the raptors were in this movie were put to good use. Don't get me wrong. But, I feel like it would have been nice to see them more as a pack in this movie.
Yeah, wouldn't it have been way cooler and scarier to, see other hunters get picked off one by one in the middle of this movie? Sorry, I had a little burp. Sorry. Wouldn't it have been cool to see the raptors, just stalk this group? One by one, we see them die. To me, that would have been better. We didn't have to see the raptors, but we could see, little silhouettes, just stuff, to give it more of that horror action vibe.
We could see their perspective of the killings.
Yep. Oh my god. Yeah, whatever, Izzy. Jesus. All right. And number 4 on our negative list, and we talked about it, I seriously wished it used the paracarnivores from the book. And this is another stalking fact. Those carnivores could camouflage, just like a chameleon and some frogs. They could blend perfectly into the environment. And in the Lost World novel, there's a scene where Richard Levine is outside just chilling. But he sees something in the background under dim lights. And he sees it's the carnivores. And it's so unsettling in the book because the carnivores are picking off all these people one by one. In the movie, you can literally walk not even a few feet away and that thing will be right there. You wouldn't be able to see it. And it is scary. And I think it would have been perfect if not only you had to fight against the T-Rex and raptors, if you also had another deadly threat of the carnivores, but you can't see and you can't shoot what you can't see.
And I haven't read the book, so I don't know much about the carnivores, but just hearing about what you're saying, I think that would have been really cool to see in Lost World, especially the atmosphere of the movies that they were trying to bring with the daunting and the eeriness.
Yeah, this being a live jungle, it would have added so much more, so much layer and depth. Like I said, not only you have to fight against the T-Rex and some raptors, you have to fight against this threat you can't even see. Yeah, they borrow that element in Jurassic World with the Indominus Rex, but I think it would have been so much cooler to see this back then.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I love about the Lost World novel was the whole camouflage carnivores. It was just so eerie and scary that you can literally walk right by this thing and you wouldn't even know it was right there.
Yeah.
All right. And so number 5 on our negative list is the boat scene. And let's explain this one. So they're bringing the T-Rex to San Diego because in the movie, Peter Hammond, the nephew of John Hammond, wants to open up a theme park in San Diego. which to me is a dumb idea because if those things get out, they're going to be on the mainland.
Yeah.
They're going to, no, it doesn't work out. But anyway, money, 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 money talks. So there's this boat crew and other engine workers designed and dedicated to this job to bring the T-Rex to San Diego on a boat. But for some reason, there's people dead on the boat. Now, that's not my problem, because he tells the boat, hey, slow down, you're coming close to the harbor, ends up crashing into the deck, and surprisingly, no one dies for getting hit by this boat.
Mm-hmm.
But as Peter Hammond and other police and like some police officers and engine workers and engine CEOs, they go inside the boat, and you see dead bodies and like a severed hand on the wheel of the boat, but it's never explained how they died. I mean, there was a screenplay and a deleted scene that was going to show that there were some raptors that attacked their boat, but that's just a big ass plot hole because you don't know what the hell killed them. And then they tried saying that the buck T-Rex, the dad freaked out and he tried giving it some medicine. It freaked it out even more and it started killing people on the boat. Mm-hmm. But then how would it get back into its cargo hold without anyone there? And that scene just always bugged me even as a kid.
Yeah, the scene just doesn't add up, especially since they were still in the cargo hold when they got to San Diego. So it's one of the plot holes in the movie, but it's nothing that too big.
Yeah, and it's just a small nitpick. I kind of wish, if anything, you could have just said the raptors attacked them, or even just a quick scene of a raptor jumping on the boat. Then we could have put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
All right, and so for our final negative, and this is the moment I told my TikTok followers and my our YouTube subscribers, the deleted scene with Roland Timbo. Now, Izzy, when I asked you, what did you think of Roland Timbo at first? What did you say?
I said that he's sort of a good guy, or sort of a bad guy, but not really. I feel like his intentions weren't bad and ill. It was just him as a hunter, so it's hard to say he was the exact villain of the movie.
Yeah, as a kid, I thought this dude was just an a-hole, a douchebag.
Mm-hmm.
That typical poacher. And this is the one deleted scene I wish they just kept in. There's a scene where they're in Kenya. The character of Ajay, he finds Roland just drinking, chilling in his normal civilian clothing, and he tells him, hey, Engine has a job for us, this whole expedition and hunting. And Roland tells him, dude, I look at my trophy room. What is there for me to really get excited about?
Mm-hmm.
But it adds layer of Roland because Audrey's like, don't you want this? Isn't the adrenaline hitting you? Something along those lines, not the exact same words.
Yeah.
But Roland tells him, Ajay, a true hunter doesn't mind if the animal wins. And that line itself right there shows that Roland's a cool guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's not this asshole game hunter, this poacher. He's honorable. And when I showed Izzy that deleted scene, she was like, dude, I wish you would have kept that. And I'm going to get into it a little bit, after I talk about this, and he's like, I don't care, he's like, yeah, I'm a hunter, but animals are cool. If they win, they win. I don't really care, and I respect that. And then him and Audrey seeing these 7 tourists harassing this waitress, and it makes him look heroic because he beats up the 7 douchebags and saves that waitress.
Mm-hmm.
And it adds so much more to his character. And this is where I say that I would have loved to see a sequel with just the character of Roland himself. He is an honorable dude. He is.
Yeah. I feel the deleted scene really humbles his characters and changes his intentions from what you think of in the Lost World, and to go off of a movie by himself, I think it would have been really cool, or even have him in the 3rd movie.
Yeah, with Alan Grant. So go ahead, look up the Lost World deleted scene on YouTube and look for the Roland deleted scene. It adds so much more to his character. I mean, yeah, in the movie, we see that he actually does care when he asks Sarah, hey, are you hurt? Or even when the mom and dad T-Rex stalk over the trailer, him and the other mercenaries go and rescue Ian, Sarah, Nick, and Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to. He could have just let them die. but he chose to save him because he's honorable. He's a nice dude at heart. He's just his game hunter.
Yeah.
You know? And then with the death of Ajay, if we had that deleted scene, it would have made Ajay's death a lot more sad and impactful because we would have seen how close they are. And that's just that little character development. And another thing I want to say, wouldn't it have been cool to have that deleted scene? And we know that Roland is a good dude. He's kind of a hero.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool to see Ian Malcolm and Roland kind of clash? Like, we could have rooted for Roland and Ian and his group. That would have been such a cool middle ground to explore and added a little bit more depth in this movie.
Yeah, I agree. I think having the two protagonists would have been more interesting than having one technically as the antagonist.
Like an anti-hero.
Yeah.
All right, and then for my TikTok followers and my YouTube subscribers, remember I promised you how I was going to explain how the character of Nick Van Owen, played by Vince Vaughn, which is so funny to me that this is Vince Vaughn's first major film, and it's funny to see him because I know him as a funny comedic dude. But the character of Nick Van Owen is a secondary antagonist, not because he means ill, but due to his actions. And let me just explain. Hammond had Nick Van Owen join Ian's group because he works with the group that's kind of like Greenpeace in some way, like an animal rights activist. And he sees Ian and his group sees the dinosaurs locked up in cages at the Engine Hunters mini camp. And he unlocks all the cages and chaos reigns. And because of it, some engine workers got hurt and their satellite dish got destroyed. And so they can't call for help. That's on Nick. That is strike one.
Mm-hmm.
And I get what Nick was trying to do, but I think you could have done that in a better way to where you didn't have to destroy their satellite dish, because now you guys are just stranded together with hope dimming down. Strike two. He sees that Roland has a shotgun, and I'm not really familiar with guns, but I guess the shotgun shells for that shotgun can kill the T-Rex dad in one shot.
Mm-hmm.
And so Nick sees it, and there's a scene where Nick's kind of eyeing at it, but then it cuts away. But then when the mom and dad T-Rex attack their camp, their second mini camp, Roland tries to shoot the buck. But then he sees that the chamber's empty. And it's revealed that Nick Van Owen took out the shotgun shells. And I get it. It's the first time in millions of years that the T-Rex is alive. But you got people killed. Innocent people. I mean, granted, some of those mercenaries probably weren't nice, but then some of them were probably just cool dudes, just another payday for them.
Yeah.
They probably got hired. So you got people killed. Like, the character Nick Van Owen was so preoccupied with trying to save these animals that he never considered human lives, that innocent lives. That's strike two.
Mm-hmm.
And now here comes strike three with the San Diego incident. Because of him, because Roland couldn't kill the dad T-Rex, that T-Rex went on a rampage in San Diego and caused property damage and deaths of innocent civilians. And that's all on Nick Van Owen.
Yeah.
That's all on him. I get it. He wasn't trying to get anyone killed or hurt. But dude, to me, that's a secondary antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Not because he wanted to get people killed, but it was due to his actions, and actions have consequences no matter how good-hearted you are doing them.
Yeah, I don't think his intentions were to destroy everything and get people hurt, but because of the decisions he made, it kind of it hurt everybody.
Yeah, like if he never got their first camp destroyed, I think they've all would have got rescued.
Yeah.
And I do like Vince Vaughn, and I don't hate his character. I like the character of Nick Van Owen. I thought he was a cool guy when I was a kid, but just looking at it and seeing multiple videos on the character of Nick Van Owen, and a lot of people agree.
Mm-hmm.
In some way, he's kind of like a secret antagonist because he gets these people killed.
Yep.
He doesn't mean to, but it's the fact that you made irrational decisions by heart, and because of it, you got so many people killed.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. And now we're going to go to our mixed feelings. I forgot to include this in the middle before the negative. And for our first and only mixed feelings is the San Diego incident. Now, Steven Spielberg wasn't sure if he was going to direct another Jurassic Park movie. Originally, someone else was supposed to direct it. I don't know who, but Steven Spielberg was pretty sure he wasn't going to get a Jurassic Park 3, that there wasn't going to be one.
Mm-hmm.
And he really wanted to do a scene with the T-Rex being on the mainland and just causing havoc. And it is so cool. It's basically, it's cool. It's basically a ripoff of Godzilla.
Pretty
just
much.
You see this T-Rex in downtown San Diego, eating people left and right, knocking a bus over, scaring away police officers and animal control. And it is just chaos. But I kind of don't like that sequence itself. Just the way it happens, like we talked about in our negatives, just that whole boat scene, and then the T-Rex breaking out, and I don't know, I'm mixed on it.
Yeah, I'm mixed on it too. I feel like the scene, like I understand the director wanted to do it because he wasn't sure he was going to do another movie, but it just, when you watch it for the first time, it just feels so out of place for a Jurassic Park movie. That's like the worst part.
The goal of this franchise was to always have the dinosaurs coming to our mainland, but it's so weird because when you watch this movie, you would think it ended with them flying off in a helicopter.
Yeah.
But then you get this shot of Roland capturing the male adult T-Rex, the dad, and put it in his cage. And it's just so weird to have this whole other San Diego sequence when we've been focusing on this jungle. And so as much as I love the sequence, I'm not really a big fan of it. I kind of wish we would have got the original ending of the pterodactyls attacking the rescue helicopter towards the end off the island.
Yeah.
To me, that would have been a little bit of a better ending.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. And so that's going to do it for our film review of The Lost World Jurassic Park. I still think it's the best in the franchise. It's my personal favorite, just like Ian Malcolm as my personal favorite character. Some people like it. Some people don't like it. Let us know in the comments below. Would you say it lived up to the original? I say it would.
Yeah, I definitely think it does.
But, everyone is subjected to their own opinion. Let us know. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you going to check out the books? We recommend it. They even have audiobooks on YouTube. I looked it up the other day, so you don't have to buy an audiobook. You can just listen for free on YouTube.
Yep.
And as always, thank you guys for listening to our podcast. We love you all. Take care of each other, but most importantly, take care of yourselves. Peace out, and we'll talk to you next week with our review of Jurassic Park 3. Peace out, everyone.
Bye, guys.